so much, everyone, for staying with us. So, elections are just about 358 days from today. So what it then means is that you see politicians doing their meetings. They're doing a lot of night meetings. That is in the nature of Nigerian politicians. You find them trying out a lot of overtures, meeting and planning and strategizing ahead of this election. You've heard about coalitions. You've heard about new political movement and the talk about alternative platforms and a third force. But one major thing that has come into the minds of civil society organizations is the fact that the democracy Nigeria operates is a fragile one. In fact, some people believe that there are some behaviors in our political landscape that are threats and dangerous to our democracy. So today, former INEC chairman Ataya Rujega said the recklessness of politicians is a threat to our democracy. So let's get this conversation started. My guests tonight on the program, Esther Uzoma and Samson Itodo. Both of them are lawyers and they're civil rights activists and also experts in election reforms development. Thank you so much again for your time on the program today. So we look at the dynamics of Nigeria's politics and what is playing out presently. 2019 is going to be perhaps one of the fiercest and the most keenly contested election, isn't it? Do you agree, Samson?
Yeah, it is, for very obvious reasons. One, this is the first general election under the APC administration and a former opposition party that dislodged the ruling party. So this election is very critical for them. The second, this election will be the first election, the first general election to be conducted by a newly constituted INEC. Under Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. But what we are beginning to see clearly shows that Nigeria's electoral democracy is under threat. And that was the focus of the discussion today at the Watching the Vote election series, which Professor Jega talked about, who spoke. And there are several reasons. One, if you look at the state of our electoral amendments, today is 358 days. And we have not finalized our electoral amendments and look at the politicization of the entire process, look at the importation of amendments that are not in any way in the collective interest of the Nigerian people, but to a great extent serve the interest of just a few. Last week, the INEC chairman actually said that they will be submitting the budget, the election budget, to the National Assembly. 358 days to the elections. And we know that the end of an election, actually it commences, it's the beginning of another election. So if 358 days, we don't even have an election budget, then we should be worried with respect to how the elections will go. And just look at the way the polity is so heated up, the role that the impact of the poor executive legislature relationship is. There's a debate around the sequence of the elections. There's this issue about elections. Now
that the president has received, they've passed on, they transmitted the amendment to the president.
To the president.
Do you think the president will sign the amendment to the electoral sequence?
Well, the body language doesn't really show that he would assent to this amendment,
Esther,
particularly the electoral amendment.
Do you think the president may sign the election sequence amendment?
No politician deliberately signs away his powers. People usually don't do that, particularly politicians. You know, the political class, they always, and it is actually in line with the character of power. Power always seeks its omnipotence. That is why there is no process of amendment that will be devoid of political considerations. What we are seeing, however, is we are seeing a ruling party that is also in opposition. Clearly. The only party in opposition presently is the ruling party. From Kaduna, you know, we see them demolishing the headquarters of a faction of... So it is going to be an interesting, you know, a lot of things will happen. But Shoyinka did say, when crocodiles eat their own eggs, what will they not do to the flesh of a frog? What am I saying? If the ruling party can demolish the headquarters of their own party, what will they do to the opposition?
The building agency have said, look, this is not political. This This has to do with our own policies.
What do you expect? Are they going to say it's not political? Will they ever? I'll be surprised if they do that. You see, however, moving towards 2019 and the threat to our democracy, we see a positive. You know, nobody is in doubt that our democratic process is in danger. In fact, our continued existence as an entity that practices democracy is endangered.
Why did you say so?
So much is happening in the country right now.
I mean,
from Borno, from Yobe, rather, where another 111 girls were, have been abducted, to the question of Chibok that has been unsettled, from the crocodile python dance, cat dance, military occupation. That the military is involved in civil occupation in at least over 30 states in Nigeria. So can't you see something is going wrong?
But these are developments that have come before now. The question is, like what Professor Jega said, the recklessness of politicians in Nigeria is a major threat.
No, but this recklessness doesn't exist in a vacuum. How does a politician become reckless? There are people who are aiding and abetting that. The politician they're usually not gone carrying people.
For example, some of the recklessness, because he did mention there that, look, they try to subvert the process so that they can come back to power and try to vandalize those are his words. The big question here, if I may come back to something, is the fact that this recklessness that is talked about, do you think that will be perpetrated further with the system that we operate right now? Because the electoral process will give, either good or bad, we give the politicians the opportunity to do whatever they want to do.
I don't know what else. It's apparent that this recklessness will pervade the entire electoral system.
That's right.
From what you see coming from the legislature and its approach and attitude towards electoral amendments, to governors. Governors today are declaring votes that are even over and above the number of registered voters that currently are in their voters register. We know in this country a governor has declared that he will mobilize 5 million votes for President Buhari. Where is he going to get that from? When the number of registered voters in the state are about 4 point something million, and you see,
may not be privy to what he knows. Politicians strategize a lot.
But the fact that they are already making these declarations already tell you, and is a pointer to the fact that they are willing. It just speaks to that do or die nature of our politics.
Let's round up the conversation now in 30 seconds, if we may. The issues of voter register in Kano and across the country. Where do you see? Do you think that the electoral process, the integrity of the electoral process, what do you make of it, Esther? Then Samson, then we round up.
Well, the integrity of the electoral process is not in doubt. This faith that Nigerians have demonstrated and are increasingly demonstrating in the electoral process is evident in their eagerness to obtain their PVCs. In fact, in every social gathering, it is show your PVC. But again, the political class, is determined to undermine that process.
Okay, Samson, a final word.
I think it's important to collect our PVCs and go get registered.
That's right.
But the integrity of the 2019 elections will be contingent on the credibility of the voters register. And that is one conversation that we must take serious. We must engage INEC in this investigation on the Kano incident, but we must keep an eye because the credibility of the voters register is really sacrosanct for the success of the elections.
Samson Itodo, Executive Director of GIAGA, Electoral Process Advocate, and Esther Uzoma, activist and a lawyer. Many thanks for your time on the program.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for being part of it. Well, we'll get the government to come and react to some of these issues, especially as it relates to the issues of corruption and the perception from Transparency International. But that's how we leave it tonight, everyone. Many thanks for being part of the show. I'm Sean Kimale from our Abuja studio. Bye-bye.